Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie, and today I am so excited to share Crack's upcoming Rest in Polish collection. First of all, I do want to give a big thank you to Cracked for sponsoring this video. So while I am being paid to swatch and share these with you all thoughts and opinions are honest and my own. So this upcoming release features a 6-piece lineup of spooky Halloween-inspired shades. I do also have a couple of extras to share as well, including their Jelly of the Month, the successor polish to their top-selling PPU shade, a 3D printed can opener, and a new glass file. And Cracked is also going to be celebrating their 2-year anniversary next week, so there's a lot to go over. They're going to be having a sale, so I will save more information on everything for the end of the video. For now, let's just get into the swatches. First up, we have Mourning Light, which is a gray jelly base filled with gold aurora shimmers. This one had a beautiful formula. It was just so smooth and easy to apply, very even coverage as well. Since it is described as a jelly, you are still going to see some visible nail line even after 2 coats, though I will say it is pretty obscured, where maybe this is a more pigmented jelly or a jelly crelly kind of combination. So it does build up to be a little bit deeper with that gray base, and obviously it's just so packed with shimmer, so I think you could just wear this in 2 coats if you did want, or just do a third for a little bit more coverage and especially to deepen the gray base. Next we have Wicked Root, which is a deep forest green metallic. This one had another super satisfying formula that was very full coverage, as you can see here on the first coat. You can barely make out my nail underneath because it does have a very dark, I think, black base, and this one is even more packed with those green shimmers, giving it that more metallic finish. It's fully opaque in 2 coats, and I love how the shimmer sort of disappears depending on the lighting. I wouldn't call this a pearlescent necessarily, but I would maybe be careful of your brush strokes. Next up we have Skelly Bones, which is described as a white with pink and purple shimmers. So that's definitely not wrong, but I would say that this has more of a sheer jelly kind of base. You can see just how sheer it is on the first coat, getting a subtle wash of that white base color, but those pink and purple shimmers really do shine so beautifully. It does build up nicely on 2 coats, but you obviously are still going to see a good amount of visible nail line, which is still going to be there even with doing 3 coats, but I personally didn't mind it at all. I just thought the color was so perfect, especially with the inspiration. It's just giving all those ghostly, ethereal Halloween vibes. The magnetic in the collection is called Ghouls Garden, which is a brown mauve base with green shimmers and rose magnetic pigments. No surprise, I absolutely loved this one. I'm always a sucker for these really bruised mauvey looking base colors, and I thought the contrast of the green and pinky purple magnetic shimmer was super gorgeous as well. I would say that the formula on this definitely was easy to work with and apply. It's just a little bit more on the jelly side, so you can still see some visible nail line even after 2 coats, and if you look close enough you might still see it on 3 coats, especially with the cat eye effect, though I really only noticed it in 1 spot in particular, so maybe that was just my application and you won't have that issue. This also shifted beautifully in extreme lighting, getting more pops of indigo, and this velvetized so beautifully. I'm pretty sure this is one of those super fine magnetic pigments, so I really love it. Then we have Hex Mix, which is a purple jelly packed with holographic and lilac glitters. This definitely has a very true jelly kind of finish, so you can see how glassy and translucent it is on the first coat. It's pretty decently pigmented, but it wasn't the most even coverage, as you can kind of tell, so doing a 2nd coat definitely did even it out for the most part, I would say, though I did do some manipulation here and there to try and even out some bald spots or cover them up a little bit better. So I do think it is passable on 2 coats depending on your preference and maybe more so your nail length. The base color is really built up and there's tons of glitters to distract from your visible nail line, but if you want a more full coverage, almost 100% opaque look, I would recommend doing a 3rd coat. And rounding out the collection, we have Scorchy, a fiery orange magnetic topper with a soft gold shift. So first I'll be building this up on its own in the cat eye effect over my base coat, just to show you how it builds up, since as you saw in the bottle, once it's magnetized, there's a black sort of base underneath, which I thought was interesting considering it's described as a topper. So as expected, this is probably gonna look best over darker shades, so I decided to swatch it over black as well as Hex Mix and Wicked Rue, the purple and green from the collection, just because I thought they would make the best bases. But building it up on its own, you do see more of that black base, especially on the third coat, but I did also have a pretty bad bald spot, though it doesn't look too bad with the velvet effect, or if you wear it unmagnetized, it is just going to be pretty sheer. And here it is over black in both the cat eye and velvet styles. No surprise, this looks amazing. Definitely a gorgeous combination, but I do also really love this over Hex Mix. There's just something about orange and purple that screams Halloween. I'm so sorry I don't have full hand swatches for these, but here are some photos of the Skittle I wore for this collection in natural lighting. These first couple of photos are in bright indirect light and the next set are in lower lighting. I have the majority of the collection on my left hand with Ghouls Garden, the magnetic, on my middle finger in the velvet style, and then I wore Scorchy over Fool Me One Coat and Secret Purple in both the cat eye and velvet styles on my right hand, which I am obsessed with. The jelly of the month for September is called Simply Mauvelous, Dahling, and it's a rose mauve jelly. I know these shades can be seen as boring or like grandma core, but I don't know, I can't help but like them. I think they can be so refreshing in a way, like a palette cleanser, especially in this jelly formula. And I was very happy to say that this had a beautiful formula. It self-leveled really nicely. If you're new to my channel, and especially to my cracked reviews, I unfortunately haven't had the best experience with their jellies, where some of them are just very patchy on me, but definitely not this one. I think it looks great in 2 coats, but I do prefer it in 3. And lastly, we have Heir Apparent, which is the successor to Crack's top-selling polish pickup shade called Jewel of the Ball. So consider this a sister or 2.0 version. This is described as a rich red shimmering base with teal to purple magnetic pigments. So while there is a red shimmer in the background, the actual base itself, I would say, is more of a black pigment. It's not red. The formula on this was lovely. It just was a little bit jelly leaning, so on the first coat it was a little sheer in some spots, but because it is a black base, it does build up to full opacity in 2 coats. It has some gorgeous color shifts in extreme lighting, going from red to gold and teal to purple, and no surprise, I'm going to love this in the velvet effect. I just love the way the shimmer shines. Next we have the Pop Popper, which is the 3D printed can opener. It comes in this vibrant green color, and I have a little demonstration to show you because this was my first time using it, so I was excited to try it out. And lastly, we have a re-release of the Defiler Crystal Nail File. So this comes in a new and improved faux leather case, which feels very fancy. And the file itself is described as being more durable and grittier. It also goes from a black to clear transition, whereas I believe the first one was fully black. This definitely does have a very gritty kind of texture. I'm not exactly sure what the grit is or what they usually are for glass files. I just know that I don't love the majority of the ones that I've tried because they have been too gritty, at least for my nails specifically, which are usually thinner and prone to peeling. So I can see how this is an improvement from their first file, but for me, I think it's still a little too rough, though I will say it's probably a great file for taking off a lot of length if you don't want to clip your nails. Moving on to comparisons, we're starting with Mourning Light and looking at it next to ILNP's Flicker, which is the closest to a dupe that I have in my collection. I would guess this is more similar to something like Bee's Knees Lemon, or I think Ethereal had one called Candlelight or something. Both of those have a golden yellow shimmer, while Flicker has more of an orangey shimmer, but even the base is a bit lighter. Next for Wicked Root, here it is quickly next to Teal Dark and Handsome from last month's collection. That one's obviously a dark teal cream, so very different overall. It's mainly for color reference that I wanted to share it, but I would say the closer dark sparkly greens that I have are Vintage Lampshade and Fight. Vintage Lampshade is definitely closer when it comes to that shimmery, almost metallic kind of finish, but as I'm sure you can tell, the green shimmer in that is much brighter, almost like a lime green. The shimmer in Fight can lean a little bit lime green in certain angles, but it is overall darker because it's in a deep teal base, so depending on the lighting, I can see how it kind of looks similar to Wicked Root, but I wouldn't call it a dupe. Some other dark sparkly greens that I have are Holo Taco's Ivy League and China Glaze's Hex Boyfriend. Ivy League has a more speckly shimmer kind of finish. It's not as finely milled or smooth or metallic looking like Cracked, or China Glaze for that matter. That one definitely does have a smaller, finer pigment, so it does look a little more similar to Wicked Root, but color-wise it is very different because both China Glaze and Holo Taco lean a little bit more yellow. Since Wicked Root is a little bit more emerald in color, I thought it would be closer to Plus Life Lacquer's The Lifestream, which is kind of this emerald green magnetic. It is a little bit more teal leaning than Wicked Root is, and it's also a few shades lighter, so definitely not a dupe. If you thought Skelly Bones looked familiar, it is basically the Pink Hair Strands remake. So to be completely honest, I don't remember why Pink Hair Strands was retired in the first place, but I am happy to see it back. It's not a one-to-one recreation though. As you can see, mainly in the bottle, there is a noticeable color difference with the base, where Pink Hair Strands almost has this pinky lilac kind of base color, while Skelly Bones is more of a truer white or like a white and gray. But because both of these are so sheer, on the nail they do look very, very similar. I would say the difference becomes more apparent with the more coats that you do. So doing 3 coats shows Skelly Bones having a little bit more full coverage with the base, and Pink Hair Strands is a little bit more sheer, but they both have the same exact shimmer. And for reference, here it is next to Apocalypse's Had Too Much Funnel Cake and Holo Taco's Glazed Over. Apocalypse has more of an ivory, warmer toned base color, and it's a little bit more pearlescent in its shimmer, but the shimmer color is definitely very, very similar to Skelly Bones, having that pinky purple sort of color, while Holo Taco has a little bit more of a brighter white, almost crelly base, but with a warmer golden peachy shimmer. Next for Ghouls Garden, here it is next to Mooncat's Lust for Vengeance and Apocalypse's 28 Shades Later. I wouldn't call any of these dupes exactly, but they're definitely like cousin or maybe even sister shades. They all have that similar plummy mauve base color with this greenish blue shimmer, but Ghouls Garden definitely has the brightest base. I only did 2 coats of each here, so maybe doing a third would make it a little bit closer to Apocalypse at least. And here it is next to Raspberry Glaze, which is one of Crack's soft pearlescent type of polishes. So even though it is described as a pearly shade, it is not brushstrokey, so it does look surprisingly similar to the smooth, shimmery finish of Ghouls Garden, at least when it's unmagnetized, but the biggest difference is the color, where Raspberry Glaze is a bit of a brighter pink. Next for Hex Mix, here it is next to Velvet Seat Cushion and Secret Purple, which are both dark, sparkly purples without being a micro glitter formula. They're both more of shimmers or metallic finishes. I would say between the two, Secret Purple is a little bit closer in color. For even closer shades, I pulled out ILNP's Vanity and Mooncat's Everybody Scream. Vanity is more of a jelly with a hollow flaky type of finish in a much more red-toned purple base, so that one ended up not being as similar as I thought it would be, but Mooncat's Everybody Scream is definitely closer, though not an exact dupe. It is a micro glitter type of formula, but there is a stronger blue shimmer and a more opaque base. Next for Scorchy, I had to show this next to Scorchy Lahar, which is a gray base with a reddish-orange magnetic pigment. I'm going to be showing these in both 1 and 2 coats just to show you the differences, because on the first coat they both look pretty similar, being very sheer, almost looking like the same kind of topper, but you do see the difference in coverage on 2 coats where Lahar looks a little bit more buildable like a Crelly, and it has a much cooler undertone. I did also want to show this next to Mooncat's Dawn of the Empire, which is a red magnetic in a black base, so I figured layering Scorchy over a black would recreate the Mooncat, and it's pretty much exact, though there is a slight color difference when it comes to the magnetic, where I think it is more of a true or deeper red in Mooncat, while Cracked is a little bit more red-orange, and in extreme light it shifts to a brighter yellow. Then for Simply Mauvelous, I knew I had to see this next to Mauve Lip Gloss because I thought these were going to be more similar. I forgot just how light Mauve Lip Gloss looks. It does also have a little bit more of a buildable, Crelly kind of formula, so these are definitely not dupes, and while Mauve Lip Gloss is retired, I feel like it's such a shame that Simply Mauvelous couldn't have that name instead. From the Cirque jellies, I would say the closest is Cirque's Rose Jelly, which has a slightly deeper, dustier, rosy color compared to their other pinks, which are a lot brighter. But as you can see, it has a little bit more of a peachy undertone, while Simply Mauvelous is more of a true mauve-y shade. So it's definitely unique to my jelly collection, which I'm very happy about. And for some quick bottle comparisons to other shades, just for color reference, here it is next to All Reliable, which is a lighter bubblegum pink sort of Crelly. I thought Mooncat's A Doll's House was going to be closer, but this is a little bit more pale, almost similar to Mauve Lip Gloss. So for a darker color, I thought of ILNP's Love Letter, which again, I thought was going to be even more similar, but that one's more of a true berry. It doesn't have that muted, dusty color that Mauve has. I think ILNP's Rosewood is a little bit more similar, at least in terms of value, but it's obviously a much more peachy pink kind of color. So I surprisingly don't have any dupes. And last but certainly not least, for Heir Apparent, I knew I had to see this next to ILNP's Hypnosis, which came out earlier in the summer. I knew there was something about Heir Apparent that I just was so obsessed with, and it's because it reminds me so much of Hypnosis. The main difference is the base color, where Heir Apparent is more of a true black base that's more opaque in 2 coats. Hypnosis is a little bit more sheer and also more purple in color, but both the background and magnetic pigment colors are basically the same, though ILNP is a little bit more glowy. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons of Crack's upcoming releases for their 2-year anniversary. As always, I would love to know what you think of all of these shades that I shared, because I generally really love them. Starting with the collection, I think it's just so beautiful. I love the variety with the colors, the finishes. It's just so satisfying to me. I know not every color may be super unique these days, but I don't know, there's something about this lineup where it's just, I can appreciate how well it's curated, and they're definitely unique to Crack's catalog, maybe with the exception of Skelly Bones, because I think that's still like a pink hair Strands 2.0 kind of version. So while it was sad to see that one go, you know, this is a really great replacement. I also loved this magnetic. I think it's just so gemmy and glassy. It is just so beautiful, especially the color combination. So I just really enjoyed wearing these. I'm so sorry that I didn't have time to do full hand swatches for everything, but as usual, Crack's collections always make for a beautiful skittle. And I would say pretty much the same for the extra shades, the Jelly and Heir Apparent, where, you know, Maybe not the most unique colors we've seen, but they're still just beautiful shades. So if you are interested in picking anything up, they are all going to be launching next Friday, September 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, which will also be the same time that Crack's sale goes live. The anniversary sale this year is just going to be live for the one day, but it will be 20% off the whole website, with the exception of a trio collaboration between Cracked, BCB, and Zombie Claw. But all the new shades that I shared today are going to be included. And even more exciting, you can save an additional 10% off, giving you 30% off total if you use my code YOGI10 at checkout. As a reminder, I am an affiliate with Cracked, so anytime you use my code or link, it gives me a small commission, which supports me and my channel. So as always, a big thank you to all of you who do support me through that. But even if you don't plan on picking anything up, I of course would love to know your thoughts down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!